Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 19b. We're in the middle of a story. Very interesting story with Yanai the king, whose slave killed someone, and he was standing in judgment, and Shimon ben Shetach told him to stand up, and Yanai didn't want to stand up. He said, only if the rest of the court, the rest of the rabbis will tell me to stand, then I'll stand. Okay, so now on 19b with the words, Nifna limino, kashu paneim makarka, nifna lismolo, v'kashu paneim makarka, amar lahen, Shimon ben Shetach, Bale machshavos atem. Yavo bal machshavos yipara mikem. Miyad ba Gabriel v'chavatan bekarka v'umetu. Umetu באותה שעה אמרו מלך לא דן ולא דנין אותו לא מעיד ולא מעידין אותו. Shimon ben Shetach turned to his right, and the judges forced their faces to the ground out of fear and said nothing. He turned to his left, and they forced their faces to the ground and said nothing. Out of fear of Yanai, they didn't want to tell him to stand up. Shimon ben Shetach said to them, you are masters of thoughts, enjoying your private thoughts and not speaking. May the master of thoughts, God, come to punish you. Ba'alei machshavot atem. That's very interesting. That's fascinating. Ba'alei machshavot atem. Wow. How about Ba'alei machshavot? Yavo ba'al machshavot. Wow, scary stuff. May the master of thoughts, God, come and punish you. Immediately the angel Gabriel came and struck those judges to the ground, and they died. At that moment, when they saw that the Sanhedrin does not have the power to force the king to heed its instructions, the sages said, a king does not judge others, and others do not judge him. And he does not testify, and others do not testify concerning him. I think there's a bit of a little bit of an anachronism here for me, at least. Like they said that the kings of Israel were wicked, and yet, they were all in the past. By the time of the Mishnah, that wasn't around anymore. You have the story here with Yanai. I don't know if he was a king of the north or not. Doesn't say. I think he was more like he took over the Judah. So I don't get it. But anyway. Okay. Anyways, but lo choletz. ולא חוצין עיני ואומר רב אשי אפילו למד המנסי שמאכל על כבוידו כבוידו מאכל מלך שמאכל על כבוידו אין כבוידו מאכל שנאמר סום תשים עליך מלך שתהא אמסו עליך מצווה shani. The Mishnah teaches that the king does not perform chalitza with his brother's widow, and his brother does not perform chalitza with his wife. Yehuda says that he may do so if he wishes. The Gemara challenges Yehuda's opinion. Is that so? But doesn't Rav Ashi say, even according to the one who says that with regard to a Nasi who relinquished the honor due to him, his honor is relinquished, nevertheless, with regard to a king who relinquished the honor due him, his honor is not relinquished, as it is stated, you shall set a king over you, Deuteronomy 17:15, meaning that this fear should be upon you. The preservation of a king's honor is mandated by the Torah. How could Rabbi Yehuda allow him to waive it? The Gemara answers the mitzvah is different. A king is not disgraced if he relinquishes his honor to perform a mitzvah. Ve'ein osin Tanya amru lo לרבי יהודה, נשים הראויות לו מבית המלך, ומעניינו מרב ומיכל. The Mishnah teaches, and no one may marry the king's widow. Rabbi Yehuda says that a king may marry another king's widow, as proven by King David, who promised with regard to King Saul after his death, and I have given you the house of your master and the wives of your master. 2 Samuel 12, verse 8. It is taught in a Braita. The sages said to Rabbi Yehuda, the meaning of the verse is not that David married Saul's widows, but that he married women appropriate for him from the house of a king. And who are they? Merav and Michal, daughters of Saul. Shalu Talmidav et Rav Yossi heach nasa David shtei achayos b'chayehen. Amar lehem Michal achar mitat Merav nasa. Rav Yehoshua ben Korcha omer kiddushe ta'ut hayu lo b'merav shneimar tzanat ishti et Michal asher erasti li b'mea aralot plishtim. The Gemara relates a discussion about David's marriage to Merav and Michal from a Braita, Tosefta, Sota 11:9. Rabbi Yossi's students asked him, how did David marry two sisters while they were both alive? Rabbi Yossi said to him, he married Michal only after the death of Merav, which is permitted. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Korcha says a different explanation. His betrothal to Merav was an error and therefore void from the outset, and so Michal was permitted to him. This is as it is stated in the words of King David to Saul, son of Ishbosheth, Saul's son Ishbosheth. Deliver me my wife Michal, whom I betrothed to me for 100 foreskins of the Philistines. 2 Samuel 3:14. My Talmud Papa Michal Ishti V'lo Merav Ishti. The Gemara asks, what is the biblical derivation here? How does Rabbi Yehoshua ben Korcha learn from this verse that King David's betrothal to Merav was an error? Rav Papa says, in the verse, David indicates Michal is my wife, but Merav is not my wife. My kedushe ta'ud, dichdiv haya ish asher yakenu yashirenu hamelech haish hagadol. Azal katle amar lo milve itlach gabai v'mikadesh b'milva eno mikudeshet. Gemara asks, what caused the betrothal between David and Merav to be mistaken betrothal? The Gemara responds as it is written about Israel's war against the Philistines and Goliath. It shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. 1 Samuel 17:25. David went and killed Goliath. King Saul said to him, you have a loan in my possession, as I owe you the great wealth that I promised. Though David had not given him actual monetary loan. And the halacha is that with regard to one who betroths a woman, by forgiving a loan, she is not betrothed. And therefore David's betrothal of Merav did not take effect. And we were at, we'll put on pause for a little bit, so I'm back here now. David's betrothal of Merav did not take effect. I think I'm going to do a few more lines and then I'll call it a day, meaning like I'll do like two halves because this is a very large Amud. Azal Yahweh Liadriel Dichtiv Vayihi Be'et Tet et Merav Bat Shaul David Amar Le I Ba'it De'eten Lach Michal Zil Aiti Li Mea Aralot Pirishtim Azal Aiti Le Amar Le Milve Pruta It Lach Gabai. Saul went and gave Merav to Adriel, as it is written, but it came to pass at the time when Merav, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given to Adriel the Meholathite as a wife. See 1 Samuel 18:19. Saul said to David, if you want me to give you Michal, go bring me 100 foreskins of the Philistines. See 1 Samuel 18:25 through 27. David went and brought Saul 200 foreskins. Saul said to him, even though you brought the foreskins, the betrothal is not valid, as you, David, have a loan and one pruta in my possession. In other words, the wealth of Saul owed to him for slaying Goliath is as well as the item of lesser monetary value, the foreskins of the Philistines. Shaul savar milva upruta daitia milve. David savar milva upruta daitia pruta. Saul and David had a halachic dispute on this point. Saul reasoned that in the case of one who betroths a woman by forgiving a loan and giving her one pruta, his mind is focused on the loan and not on the additional pruta, and therefore the betrothal is not valid. And David reasoned that in the case of one who betroths a woman by forgiving a loan and giving her one pruta, his mind is focused on the pruta, and therefore the betrothal is valid. Shaul savar lo chazu velo midi v'David savar chazu lechalbi v'shunrei. If you wish, you can say instead, everyone reasons that in the case of one who betroths a woman by forgiving a loan and giving her one pruta, his mind is focused on the pruta. Saul reasoned that foreskins of Philistines are not fit for any purpose, and, as such, are worth not even one pruta. And that consequently, the betrothal, really it's worth nothing. It's worth less than nothing. It's worth like negative money. I'll pay you to get that thing away from me. And consequently, the betrothal did not take effect. And David reasoned that they are fit for dogs and cats as food. A new flavor of Purina, Philistine flavored foreskins for dogs and cats. And cats as food as such are worth at least one pruta, and therefore the betrothal takes effect. Rabbi Yossi, hi tanaz, ishtias michal, my darish be, Yossi tameh, the Tanya Rabbi Yossi, hi darish michal, me oya avin. The Gemara asks that according to Rabbi Yossi, who explains that David married Michal after the death of Merav, with regard to this verse, deliver me Michal my wife, 2 Samuel 3:14, what does he derive from it? The Gemara answers Rabbi Yossi conforms to his standard line of reasoning, as it is taught in Braita, Tosefta, Sota 11a. Rabbi Yossi would derive meaning from mixed verses that seem contradictory. Okay, I think we're going to do that as part 1 of Sanhedrin 19b.